burst. That is the thing that is used when someone is limited to something, or something like that. I don't really know, but that's what people call me. We go to Naruto at the young age of 6, as he'll be in the academy getting beaten up by Sasuke in this training or taijutsu spar. The match would end as Naruto would get up, wiping the blood from his cheek. As he looked at the proctor, who would you see smiling as Naruto looked down? Why? Why is my progress stopped? Ever since that day when Naruto became 6, his progress as a ninja has completely stopped. Once being the prodigy of the classroom, top of the class, making the Namikaze and Uzumaki proud, then suddenly he just stopped. His taijutsus weakened, his ability to use chakras dramatically decreased. In fact, the amount of chakra he has is half now. At this age, Naruto should have a chakra limit of a Chunin, even though he's in the academy, but now he has barely that even a non-clan member has more chakra than him. He got a test from Tsunade, and it says that the chakra chains that the Uzumaki normally has malfunctioned in Naruto, and now is supposed to be subdue anything that the chains got wrapped around Naruto. His own chains are holding him back. His two siblings, once looking up to him, now just look down on him, thinking that he's weak, as his father tries his best to train Naruto, but what can he train Naruto in if he can't use anything that involves chakra? As you go through the day, Naruto learned that he won't be able to learn anymore. He'll be sat down at the couch as Minato and Kushina would be sitting there. I'm sorry, Naruto, but because of the chakra chains that are wrapped around you, you won't be able to progress as a ninja. Naruto would absolutely feel destroyed at this, as he'd stare both at his parents having guilt in their eyes, as Kushina would think of a way. But don't worry, Naruto, I'll train you in Kenjutsu, as Naruto would light up at this. As Kushina would, yeah, I'll train you to be the best swordsman in the world. As Naruto would agree with this, and that would begin the training with Naruto with the sword. Surprisingly, just because his chakra was closed off and his progress is stopped, he was able to learn the sword quite well, which would surprise Minato and Kushina. His two other siblings, Menma and Mito, would be far stronger than Naruto because they're able to use chakra and learn faster because of the shadow clones that Naruto cannot create anymore. He can barely even make a regular clone, as Minato would be training them, while Kushina would train Naruto in the way of the sword. We go to Naruto just in the academy, as he look at the teacher who would be explaining it. Because he is not able to learn anything, he doesn't really listen in, talking about chakra control and all that. He doesn't really need it because he can barely even produce it, as Naruto would just lay there. We go to Minato's office, as he would look up. Guy would look up. Yes, Hokage, as Minato would smile. That's Guy all the time, as he would hand Guy a paper. I want you to train my son, as Guy would raise an eyebrow. But Minato, I already have 3 students, as Minato would nod. Yes, but Naruto has gotten a defunction in his chakra coils, and he's not able to do ninjutsu anymore, and the best person I can think of to help him with this is someone who doesn't use ninjutsu, as Guy would realize. So you want me to train him in taijutsu? As Minato would nod, yes, that's what I would like you to do. As Guy would nod, okay, fine. He'll be training with the rest of my team then, as Minato would just nod, as Guy would leave. After that day, Naruto would arrive home, as he would see his 2 siblings who would be, the same age as him, except Naruto was older by a few seconds, as they would walk past him, not even saying hi, as Naruto would sigh. Arriving at the dinner table, Minato and Kushina would smile, as Minato would say, "So, how's school, Naruto?" As Naruto would rest his head on the table. The usual, something that I can't use. As Minato would sigh, Kushina would frown, as Naruto would look at him. Why do I have to go to the academy if I can't even do anything they're teaching me? as Minato would smile. Don't worry, Naruto. You'll be able to do it soon. As Naruto would get a bit mad at this, as it's been, 3 months after his birthday, after becoming 6, that he's not able to use chakra anymore. As Naruto would just try to calm down. What do you mean? As Minato would stand up. Well, I called one of my friends to help you with your training. As Naruto would raise an eyebrow. Friends? As Minato would nod. Yes. He doesn't use chakra. As Naruto would look at him. You mean the green beast of Konoha? As Minato would nod. Yes. He'll be training you on the weekends. As Naruto would smile. Maybe I can get strong after all. As Minato would nod. Yeah. Ninjutsu's not everything, Naruto. You might be a bit lucky, because if you are able to use chakra soon, which I'm hoping you're able to use again, you'll have a mindset of someone who doesn't have chakra and someone who does have chakra. Naruto raised an eyebrow as Minato continued on about his theory. People who are allowed to use chakra are narrow-minded and focus more on the ninjutsu and not really on the other aspects that don't involve chakra. So, when you do learn your chakra again, you'll have mindsets of 2 people. One that doesn't have chakra and one that does. As Naruto would nod. Okay. As Minato would smile. And I'll also be training you in seals. Naruto would be surprised as Naruto would say, but don't you need chakra to have seals? As Minato would nod his head no. You do need chakra to put in the ink, but a seal is strong enough without a lot of chakra. Naruto would be excited. He's getting training from his mother in swords, and even and taijutsu from the Green Beast, now even seals from his father, who is known to be one of the best seals master in the world. Naruto would be extremely excited for this, as he say, okay, maybe I can become the strongest ninja without chakra. As Kushina and Minato would smile. We go to the Naruto at the age of 8. He's on a training trip with Jiraiya, as Jiraiya will be training Mito and Menma, because he thinks they're the child of prophecy. Naruto just sigh as Jiraiya just told him to go train some, his physical abilities, like running or something like that. Naruto would be running across a waterfall, or next to a waterfall, as then he would suddenly hear something big happen. Turning in that direction, he would run in that direction to see what it is, thinking that Menma and Mito are fighting Jiraiya, as he wants to see what kind of jutsus they're using, but when he arrived, moving through the bushes, he'd see nothing but a giant crater. Walking over, he would look inside to see a man. This man would be wearing a black cloak with a mask on. As the man would look over and see Naruto immediately dash away, but before the man could do something, suddenly something would stomp right there. As Naruto would look back to see something he would think that he'd never see again. The Nine Tails. The Nine Tails did attack during Naruto's and Menma's and Mito's birth, but the Nine Tails wasn't able to get sealed and ran off. Naruto kept on hearing stories about how the Nine Tails broke into the village when they were born, and that Naruto and Menma and Mito were supposed to be miracles, because in reality, Minato and Kushina were supposed to die that night, but they didn't. Naruto would take that story to heart, and now he's seeing the Nine Tails for real. A huge amount of rage would happen into him, thinking that if this Nine Tails didn't decide to run off, his parents would have died. As Naruto would have a new resolve to defeat this Nine Tails, even though he's weak. He'd grab his katana that his mother gave him when he started getting trained by her, as he dashed towards Kurama. The Nine Tails, after crushing this masked figure, looked down to see that the masked figure is gone, as he looked up to see the kid dashing at him with the katana. Confused, as no kid has actually done this. Looking into his eyes, he'd see Naruto's resolve, as he'd be surprised. Looking at his arm, he'd see a weird chain mark. That is when the curse started happening. Naruto was born with a weird chain tattoo on his wrist, and when the curse activated, it created a chain that wraps around it. As Naruto would say that Tsunade would say that this chain represents Naruto getting chained down in his progress. As Naruto would dash towards Kurama, Kurama would stare at Naruto while Naruto would run up and stab Kurama in the paw. Kurama looked down to see Naruto pushing the katana deeper in, as he was about to stomp on Naruto until he noticed something odd. The chain around Naruto's hand would start to move and go onto the katana, which surprised him even more when the chain actually started wrapping around him. Kurama tried his best to break out, but this chain is some sort of different chain that he's never seen before. As he'd fully wrap around Kurama before anything happened, Naruto would actually just be there alone. The 9 tails he stabbed is gone, and the chain around his wrist has grown. It has weird red markings all over it now, almost like ceilings all over it. Naruto would stare at it as he just wondered what the hell happened, as then he would suddenly hear 2 people land behind him. Turning around, he'd see his sensei Jiraiya and his younger brother Menma. What happened, Naruto? As Naruto would stare at Jiraiya, who'd be confused. Naruto standing in a crater, and Jiraiya knows that Naruto can't produce any chakra or can cause anything this big. As Naruto would say, the nine tails, it was here. As Jiraiya would start laughing. Naruto, we haven't seen the 9 tails for 6 years. As Naruto would stare at him, no, it was here. It was fighting this masked man or something. As Jiraiya would sigh. Naruto, did you hit your head when you were training? As Naruto would just stop explaining because he knew that they wouldn't listen. As he'd say, yeah, I think I hit my head. As Menma would scoff, I'm ashamed to have you as a brother. As he would walk away, as Jiraiya said, come on, Menma. He's just training. As he would walk behind Menma, Naruto would sigh at his younger brother as he would walk out of the crater. It's strange. I swore I fought the 9 tails. Or I tried to fight the 9 tails. Odd. As he would arrive back at the hut that Jiraiya's made, and the training would begin also, or the day would continue on. Later that night, Naruto would go to sleep as he'd be looking at his chain wrapped around his wrist as he'd stare at it. Could it have been a dream? Or illusion? Genjutsu? Why would someone genjutsu me thinking that there was a 9 tails? Why was that masked figure fighting it? As he would stare at the chain. My life is weird. As he would go to sleep, waking up, he would notice something odd. The area around him would be completely dark, which would surprise him as the moonlight would actually shine his room when he went to sleep. As he would look around, he noticed that he's also not on his bed, but on a pure wet surface. As he'd get up and, did I wet the bed? What? As suddenly torches would start to light up around him. Looking around, he'd suddenly see a black chain. As he'd grab it, a chain? Following the chain, he would arrive at an area where the chain would just stop. Looking into it, he would notice that the chain goes under the water. As he would try to pull it more, as suddenly he would hear something rattle. Looking up, he would suddenly see 2 red eyes staring back at him. As Naruto would stumble back, this is a dream. As suddenly the torches would finally reach up to Naruto, revealing the giant 9 tails staring back at him, wrapped in black chains all over his body. So I did fight the 9 tails. No, wait. As Kurama would yell Naruto to shut up. How dare you capture me? I haven't been sealed in 6 years. The freedom I wanted has finally arrived, yet you come here and just seal me. As Naruto stared at him, I didn't even know what I was doing. As Kurama would laugh, yeah, right. I saw it in your eyes. You wanted to kill me. Yet I'm here, wrapped in these chains I've never felt before. As Naruto would stare, well, how is this possible? I barely have any chakra. As Kurama stared at him confused. What do you mean, human? As Naruto would explain claim his life story to Kurama, he doesn't know why he's explaining his life story to a tailed beast, but he just felt like he should. As Kurama stared, so it's the Uzumaki curse. Naruto would be confused. The what? As Kurama would look at him. Why should I tell you anything? As Naruto would frown. I mean, you're stuck here, and might as well tell me how you're stuck here, so I can, maybe release you. As Kurama would be surprised at what Naruto said. Release me. As Naruto nodded. Yeah, you did say that you were free for 6 years, and like my mom said, you've been sealed in a lot of people, or 2 people, but 2 people for a long time, so I feel like you deserve your freedom at least. So can you at least tell me how I, let you out of here? As Kurama would be shocked even more. You do not want my power, kid. As Naruto nodded his head no. No. It's not like I can use it anyway. This curse is blocking everything. Can't do Genjutsu, can't do my shadow clones, can't do Rasengan, can't do Flying Thunder God. The only thing I'm allowed to do is just strength training. As Kurama stared at him. You might have potential, kid. As Naruto stared at him confused. What? Weren't you calling me a brat later? As Kurama would snort. You are still a brat, but it seems that since you don't have chakra, you've changed your mindset. As Naruto nodded. Yep, father did say. I have a mindset of someone who doesn't have chakra. As Kurama would laugh. Well, this is good. Naruto would be confused as Kurama would say, how about this, kid? We'll make a deal. As Naruto would nod, okay. As Kurama would explain the deal. The deal is simple. I'll train you on how to use chakra by letting you access mine due to the fact that yours is blocked off. When you get strong enough, you'll figure out a way for me to leave. Naruto would think about it as he would, rub his chin. I've read a lot of fairy tales and it's always don't trust the demon. As Kurama would look at Naruto. But I have no other choice. As Naruto would lift up his hand for a handshake, as Kurama would be confused as well. Well, come on, shake the hand. As Kurama would lift up his hand, as he would shake Naruto's hand, or small hand. Deal accepted then. This will be the end of part 1. I hope you guys enjoyed this first part because I feel like this is about to get crazy. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed part 1 and I'll see you guys in the next part. Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of What If Naruto Was Cursed. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let's get started with today's video. We go to Naruto, who would be in the academy right now, age of 10, as he'd been getting training from his mother, Might Guy, and some sealing from his father, especially Kurama, as Kurama was teaching him how to use chakra once again. Since Naruto wasn't able to use chakra for most of his life, or after that part of his life, he has to relearn most of it because he doesn't have this much chakra as before. Able to do shadow clones again, and his father noticed that he's able to put more chakra into seals, which he's happy, thinking that Naruto's chakra is starting to regrow back onto him. Naruto being in the academy looking at Iruka's lessons, more interested now because he can actually do the things that Iruka is teaching, until Iruka would look at his watch as he'd say, oh, it's time for the taijutsu spar. As he would clap his hands as everyone would wake up, or the people who were asleep would wake up, as Iruka would explain to them that they're about to do a spar. Everyone would be excited as they would leave the academy, going into the training ground that the academy has been provided by the Hokage. As everyone would be waiting there, soon everyone would get called up for the battles, as Naruto would go up to fight Sasuke. Sasuke would smirk as Naruto would smirk as well, as Sasuke would be confused on why Naruto is smirking. Naruto would look at Sasuke as he would smile. This is a no ninjutsu battle, so I'll take the win for this one. As Sasuke would raise an eyebrow. So, really think that my taijutsu is not as good as my ninjutsu. As Naruto would get into stance. Bring it. As Sasuke would smirk, dashing towards Naruto. The battle would be quick and easy, as Sasuke would be on the ground while Naruto would be standing, as everyone would be shocked at Naruto's taijutsu. As Naruto would lift up his hands like, I win. As Iruka would be surprised as well, as Sasuke would get up angrily as he was about to attack Naruto again, until Iruka blocked Sasuke's fist. The match is over, Sasuke. As Sasuke would, click his mouth as he would walk away, as Naruto would walk off as well. People would say that Naruto is cheating, as Naruto would say, how am I cheating? I have no chakra. As everyone would realize that that's a dumb accusation now. The battles continue on, and soon it would be Naruto versus Menma, as Menma would stand there looking at Naruto, who would be smiling at his little brother. Give up, brother, as Naruto would raise an eyebrow. Why? As Menma would get into stance. I have more training than you. You were the prodigy of the Namikaze, but I am now the prodigy. As Naruto would smirk. Well, hopefully I'm getting that title back. As Naruto and Menma would go into battle, as Naruto would actually be able to keep up with Menma, who's been getting training from Minato more, as Naruto would have a freestyle taijutsu, while Menma would have his father's taijutsu stance. So basically, Menma's taijutsu relies on speed, while Naruto's just making it up on the spot, which would surprise most of them, as Iruka has never seen this taijutsu ability or taijutsu style before. Might Guy was even surprised when Naruto started to use this freestyle taijutsu. Men would be actually surprised that Naruto is able to keep up and how unpredictable Naruto is at this time. But Menma, having more training from Minato, would actually be able to defeat Naruto as Naruto would fall to the ground as Menma would sigh. Like I said, Naruto, just give up. As he would walk away, as Naruto would get up, dusting off his pencil. Damn, I guess I need more training. As the rest of the class would end, as Naruto would go to his special training grounds, which would be behind a waterfall, as he'd get training from Kurama. The chains around Kurama would lessen, as there won't be as many black chains as there was on Kurama this time. As Naruto would be getting trained in chakra again. His chakra cores are actually starting to expand like they used to, and now he has a Chunin, or the same amount of chakra as the Chunin, as Kurama would be expanding the chains expanding the chains. As Naruto would be grateful to Kurama for getting him back to a huge amount of chakra at this young age. But at this age of 10, Naruto should have a low Jonin at this time, like his siblings Menma and Mito. As Naruto would leave the waterfall after his training, as he'd walk back to the village. Entering the village, he'd be looking around as it'll be night, as everyone would be celebrating their nighttime things, as there'll be people drinking, mostly ninjas, as he would continue walking on, until he eventually met a girl who would just be stumbling around in the village. As he would walk up to her, are you okay? As Naruto would turn around, surprised to see or hear a student that she knows, as she would see Naruto, as she immediately blushed, as Naruto did save her from the bullies last in canon, so she still has a crush on Naruto. As Naruto would stare at her, are you okay, Hinata? As Hinata would look away, yes, I'm fine. As Naruto would say, you look like you're lost. As Hinata would sigh, she would look at Naruto, covering half her face, as she would say, my guard has forgotten about me. As Naruto would sigh, as he would lift up his hand, as Hinata would look at it, as Naruto would say, come on, I'll walk you home. As Hinata would be blushing even more, as she would grab Naruto's hand, as they'd walk to the compound, as Naruto would say, so you don't even remember where your house is. As Hinata would look away, as she would say, my guard normally takes me there. As Naruto would sigh, Naruto would look at Hinata, as Hinata would still be looking away. We're quite similar if you think about it. As Hinata would look at Naruto first looking at Naruto, as she would raise her eyebrows, Naruto would say, both you and me are considered the weaklings of our clan, and our siblings are starting to take over. As Naruto would realize that he's starting to get close to home with this, as Hinata would also realize this, as she would nod, yeah. As Naruto continued talking on, but maybe we can get better. As Hinata would look at him, as Naruto would have a smile on his face. Maybe we can become strong enough to become the clan heads like we were supposed to be. As Hinata would take a new inspiration to Naruto's words, as now she wants to be a clan head. As now if she becomes a clan head and Naruto becomes a clan head, they'll be able to strengthen bonds and maybe she might get closer to Naruto. As Naruto would look at her with a big smile. So Hinata, I want you to get stronger. As Hinata would be surprised. I don't want to be rude here, but to be honest, you're kind of weak in the Hyuga clan, and your shy personality is getting in your way. It's good to be kind to others, but sometimes being kind is not an option. As Hinata would take in his words like a sponge, as Naruto would eventually arrive at the Hyuga compound with Hinata, as he would let go of her hand, as he would wave Hinata off, where Hinata would be thinking about every word Naruto said. At this point on, Hinata would change as a person, not becoming shy, but becoming kind, but at the same time being able to do what is necessary to keep the clan at the top. As we go to Naruto walking back home, he had arrived as Minato and Kushina were about to set up the tables. Naruto would wave at them, while Minato would wave back. As Naruto would point at the chair where a 4 or 3-pronged kunai would be there, as Minato would look at it. Teleport to it. As Naruto would raise an eyebrow. What? As Minato would nod. Teleport to it. As Naruto would try his best, but couldn't do it, as Minato would sigh. You're not there yet, as Minato would move the 3-pronged kunai, as they would sit at the table. What do you mean I'm not ready yet? As Minato would sigh. The 3-pronged kunai I've made is designed for all of us to be able to teleport to it if we really think about it. But your chakra crows are not big enough to accept this yet, but I'll be training you on how to make your own. As Naruto would be surprised. Make my own? As Minato would nod, yes. And notice your chakra claws are growing back, and the clan head is always able to do, or since we're becoming a clan, the clan head must be able to do a hidden ration, because that's our thing now. As Naruto nod, Minato would give Naruto a small scroll as he'd say, that's just the basics on how to do it. It won't teach you on how to teleport or how to perform it on other things. It's just teaching you how to draw the seals. As Naruto would thank his father as the dinner would continue on, Menma and Mito arriving late because of their sensei Kakashi. Oh, wait, never mind. Not the sensei Kakashi. Because they're the same age as Naruto. Never mind. Or they're like a few minutes younger than Naruto. As they had arrived after training with Jiraiya, as Menma and Mito would sit down, as Jiraiya would wave off into Minato and the rest of the family, saying that he has to do some research, as Kushina was about to get up and beat the living crap out of Jiraiya, but Minato stopped her. The rest of the meal would be the same, as Naruto would go to his room and sleep. While sleeping, he'd be getting training from Kurama, as he's starting to learn how to use this ability of his, the Cursed Binds, which he's liking to call him. As Naruto would be sitting in the sewer water, as he'd say, man, can I just change this place, because sitting in the sewer is not really that cool. As Kurama would be laying on his paws, chains would just be wrapped around his arms and legs and his neck. As he'd look at him, I don't know, this is your mindscape, think of something. As Naruto would try thinking of something, and suddenly Kurama would be cramped up in the classroom, or academy classroom, as Kurama would look at Naruto, who would be surprised. So I can change my mindscape. As Kurama would glare at Naruto, change it back. This is a bit too tight in here. As he was about to break the classroom, as Naruto would immediately change it to his training ground. As Kurama would say, this is much better. As Naruto would look at his chain that would be wrapped around his arm. I need a name for this. As Kurama would raise an eyebrow, you're gonna name your curse. As Naruto would look at him. Has it been a curse? I mean, for a few years or months, it's really holding me back, and I've been I've been getting treated worse, but since I've been able to use it and adapt, I would say it's more of a blessing now. As Kurama would still have his eyebrow raised. So, what are you gonna call it? As Naruto would stare at it. The hollow chains. As Kurama would lower his eyebrow. The hollow chains. As Naruto, not yet, because they're able to keep back you, they're able to hold me back, so that means they're hollow, and that they need something to fill it. As Kurama would understand his reasoning, as he'd say, okay, so you're saying you're learning how to control the chains. As Naruto would nod, yeah, this chain tattoo is actually like a seal of sorts. After I started learning some seals, I've learned that this chakra symbol, or the chain tattoo on my arm or wrist, is actually able to grow the more chakra I put into it, and I'm actually able to expand it to any part that is in contact with me. As Kurama would be surprised. See, when I stabbed you with my katana, the tattoo actually went onto the katana, and that's how you were able to get sealed. As Kurama would realize this. So, you're saying if you're able to control the chains like the Uzumakis, you would have a new Kega Genkai. As Naruto would not yet. As the rest of the night would be them explaining on how to use the chains. There'll be the next morning, which would be the graduations. As Naruto would be happy that he's finally gonna graduate. When he arrived, they'll do the simple graduation exams, as Naruto would easily pass as he has more chakra now. As then they'll be getting teams, as there'll be a beta team, which Naruto would be confused at, as it would be Kushina, Kakashi, Menma, Mito, Naruto, and Sasuke, which would be the beta team. Saying that maybe a bigger team might help with missions. Naruto would be waiting for Kakashi, as he did meet Kakashi and he did get training from Kakashi, but that was before his chakra was slowly getting taken away. Naruto would wait, as eventually Kushina would walk in dragging Kakashi reading his book. As Kushina would stand up, Kakashi would say, okay class, or team, we'll meet on the roof. As she would poof away, as Kakashi would still be sitting there reading his book, as he would look up to notice that Kushina is gone. The roof, as he would disappear. Naruto, Mito, and Sasuke would all shunshin to the roof, as they'll be getting or introducing themselves. The introduction would be pretty simple. Menma and Mito want to become Hokage, Naruto wants to become the strongest, Sasuke wants to become a clan head, and Kakashi has the same thing. Kushina wants to become a female Hokage still. As then they will talk about the bell test. Kushina would leave early as Kakashi's like, oh, also, don't eat if you don't want to throw up. As he disappeared, Menma, Mito, and Naruto realized that Kakashi was lying because they've gotten trained from Kakashi before. But Sasuke wouldn't know. As Naruto would poke Sasuke on the shoulder, Sasuke would look at him. Don't listen to him. Eat breakfast because you're going to be quite hungry because we have to wait like 3 hours before he arrives. As Menma, Mito, and Naruto disappear while Sasuke would take that in. That'll be the end of part 2. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next part. See ya. You guys, we're on to part 3 of What If Naruto Was Cursed, the movie. I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get started with today's video. We go to Team 7 walking towards the training ground, as they would be expecting Kushina and Kakashi there. Unlike Kakashi told them, they actually did eat breakfast, and thanks to the others, Sasuke actually ate breakfast as well. As they had arrived at the training ground, to see Kakashi reading his perverted book behind a tree while Kushina was on the other side, so Kushina doesn't see what Kakashi's reading. Kushina would look at him as she would smile as Kakashi put the book away and come around the tree smiling as well. As they would all stand in a line, Kushina and Kakashi in front of him, as Kakashi would explain the test. Pulling out 3 bells, he would point at them as Kushina would explain. There's only 3 bells, and there's 4 of you. So, it's pretty explanatory. If you don't get the bell, you get sent back. And since there's 3 of you, we can actually send someone back. As they realize that that's true, they don't need a 4-man team, so one of them can get sent back. Immediately, Kakashi would place the timer down as he'd start walking away, as Kushina would be waving them off as the timer would ring, as suddenly they'd all disappear. Kakashi waiting for them as Naruto would appear on a tree branch, as he would think, I have until noon to get them, but the other 3 might be a problem. As he would think about it, from a young age, father always said that Konoha had the will of fire. Maybe this is a test of some sorts, not just to get the bells, but maybe something else. As he'd sit there thinking, while Menma and Mito would jump down, trying to defeat Kakashi to get the bells. As Kakashi be focused because, because Menma and Mito have been getting training from Jiraiya, Tsunade, Minato, and Kushina, so now Kakashi has to do a bit of work this time. As he'd be blocking all their attacks, Sasuke would come out of nowhere, as now Kakashi is fighting 3 people at the same time. Naruto, still watching, would notice that they are working as a team, as he would think about it. Maybe that's what we're supposed to do. They're all working as a team, but they don't even know that. Interesting. As he would jump down, dashing towards Kakashi's fight, as Kakashi would notice the 4th one coming in, as he would think, interesting, that he already figured it out. Naruto would appear as now all 4 of them are fighting as a team, not even knowing that they're fighting perfectly in sync. Suddenly, Kushina would jump in to lessen the battle between Kakashi. With 2 Jonins versus 4 Genin, it would not go out well for the Genin, as Kushina would help Kakashi to a point where they won. The bell would ring as they'd all be sitting down, as Kushina and Kakashi would be talking about how they messed up. But when they thought they failed, Kakashi would say that they actually passed, which would surprise the 3 of them, or the 4 of them, as Kushina would explain about teamwork, as Naruto would say, I knew it. As Kushina would say, Naruto, did you figure out before this? As Naruto would nod, as Kushina would sigh, then why didn't you tell the others? As Naruto would immediately get a sweat drop. Yeah, maybe that kind of been a better idea. As Naruto would still be there, as they'd all leave. Naruto would look at Kakashi, as Kakashi would look back at Naruto. Any questions, Naruto? As Naruto would point at his wrist, as Kakashi would stare at the chain wrapped around it. Alright, your curse. What about it? As Naruto would just say, let's have a spar. Kakashi would be confused at this, but he would just agree with it anyway, as Naruto and Kakashi go to a training ground, and the battle would begin. Kakashi would be surprised at Naruto's speed this time, as it seems that Naruto is holding back of some sorts, as this time he's moving faster and he seems more control. As Naruto would actually be on the upper hand this time, Kakashi blocking, as suddenly Naruto would appear behind Kakashi after blocking a punch from him with a kunai behind his neck. Got you. As Kakashi would sigh, Not bad, Naruto. But why did you hide your talent when in the bell test? As Naruto would say that he really didn't have any reason to, as suddenly Kakashi would poof away as a kunai would be wrapped around Naruto's throat. You're good, Naruto, but not that good. As Naruto would smile, as Naruto would actually move Kakashi's hand from the kunai, as Kakashi was actually surprised that he was able to move it. In fact, he couldn't move himself, as Naruto would walk away. Yeah, this is why I hid most of my abilities, as he would point at Kakashi, as Kakashi would look around on his body to see black chain tattoos all over his body, as Naruto would point at his wrist to see that the chain has extended, wrapping around his full arm, as Kakashi would look at it. Strange, as Naruto would nod. It is. Figured out that this is actually a Kike Genkai, as Kakashi would be surprised. What? As Naruto would nod. I thought it was holding my progress back, and that's because I was actually allowing it to hold my progress back. I figured out how to move it. Now I can hold anybody back if I want to. Kakashi would be surprised. So this is the full extent of Uzumaki chains? As Naruto would shrug. I don't really know. I never figured out how it actually worked, and I'm just gonna say that mine is just a better version of the Uzumaki chain. And suddenly the black tattoo marks would disappear on Kakashi as the chain wrapped around Naruto's whole arm would go back to a regular wristband. As Naruto would walk to Kakashi, patting him on the shoulder. As Kakashi would be surprised. Don't worry, I think I can control this better now. As he would start walking away, as Kakashi would look back at Naruto as he say, does Minato and Kushina know about this? As Naruto would shrug. I don't know. You can tell him if you want. As he'd disappear. As Kakashi would look at his body to where the black tattoos were, but are gone. As he'd say, if I don't tell Kushina now, she will kill me later. So I'm gonna tell him now. As Kakashi would disappear, we get to the Hogage's tower as all the Jonins would be explaining how their team passed. As Kakashi would appear, as Kushina would be surprised as she thought she told Kakashi that she would be giving the report. As she looked back to see Kakashi there, as Kakashi would walk over, Kushina. As Kushina would be confused. Yeah. I have important news to tell you. As Kushina would raise an eyebrow after we're done giving the report. Eventually, all the Jonins would finish their report as they'd all leave. As Minato would look or raise an eyebrow. Kakashi, why are you here? As Kakashi would grab a chair and sit down, as he looked really tired. As Kakashi does normally look tired, but this is some sort of different tired. As Kushina would raise an eyebrow. What happened, Kakashi? As Kakashi would rub the chin. I don't know. Maybe that your son is actually quite good. As Minato would raise an eyebrow. Menma? As Kakashi would shake his head no. Naruto. As Kakashi would nod. As Minato would raise an eyebrow. I mean, I did train Naruto in some art, but what do you mean he's good? As Kakashi would explain to them that Naruto has learned how to use his curse into a Kekkei Genkai, which would surprise Kushina and Minato. As Kakashi would explain, as Kushina would say, so now he's getting back all of his chakra he lost? As Kakashi would shrug. I don't know, he just says he learned how to not make him hold, or not make it hold him back. As Minato would say, interesting. Okay, the first mission will be a C rank. As Kakashi would be surprised. C rank? What about the D ranks? As Mito. Oh god damn it. As Minato would say, no. I've trained Menma Mito, and Sasuke has been getting training from the Uchiha clan. I think they're C and above. As Kakashi would agree. Yeah, D rank's gonna have been boring. As Kushina would smile as they would all leave. The next day they would do on their first C rank mission, which would just be take out a bandit camp, which would be easy as Naruto would not be showing his chain manipulation, which Kakashi and Kushina have been trying to make him do to fully learn the extent of his ability. As we go to Naruto, after a few months, or 1 month to be exact, after 1 month of C ranks, Naruto was getting a bit tired and he was about to ask for a B rank, but Kakashi already grabbed the C rank, so they're doing it. And right now he'd be walking towards the village gates as they already explained the mission. Walking there, he would see an old man drinking as he'd be confused as Menma, Mito, and Sasuke would be waiting. Naruto would arrive and say, what's the mission? As Kakashi would bring out the scroll. Well, it's to escort this Tazuna here to the Wave Village and watch him build the bridge. As Naruto would sigh, really? Another boring thing? As Tazuna was about to argue back as Kakashi say, "Missions are missions, Naruto, we just do them." As they would leave, Kushina in the back, Kakashi in the front, Menma Mito on the side, Sasuke behind Kakashi and Naruto in front of Kushina. As they'd be walking in this direction, suddenly they would pass a puddle as Kushina would look in that direction because she is an Uzumaki and she has sensory abilities because she's also related to the Senju because of the Yeah, you guys already know this, you've watched Naruto. As Kushina would give a sign to Kakashi as Kakashi would nod as both Kushina and Kakashi would start switching spots. Kakashi walking towards the middle while Kushina would walk closer to the middle as well as they would all be in the middle. Demon Brothers would jump out as suddenly Kakashi and Kushina would jump away. Menma Mito would immediately turn around throwing kunai which would block the chain that was supposed to wrap around Tazuna as the chain to be pinned to the tree. They would let go of the tree or the chain as they would dash towards Naruto and Sasuke. Naruto would easily take down his, as Sasuke would also easily take down his, as they would interrogate both of them to figure out that this mission actually might be a bit higher than they thought. As Kushina was to glare at Tazuna would explain the situation as Kushina being Kushina, would decide that they should continue on this mission. Plus there's 2 Jonin, what can go wrong? Eventually they arrive close to the wave village as suddenly mist would start to flow in, which would surprise all of them as Naruto would ask Tazuna if this is the normal amount of mist. Tazuna would turn back looking at Naruto as he'd say, "I don't really know. Normally it's misty, but it seems that this is really misty. I can barely see 5 feet in front of me." As suddenly they would hear something flying through as Naruto's ear twitched as Kakashi and Kushina would immediately tell all of them to duck. All of them would duck as a sword would fly by as they would look up to see Zabuza land as all of them would be surprised. Kakashi and Kushina getting ready in a stance already. Kushina bringing out her swords as Kakashi would bring out a kunai. Zabuza would stare at Kushina as she'd say, "Ah, Kushina, it's been a while." As Kushina would smile, "It seems that you're here for another ass beating, Zabuza." As Zabuza would snarl, "You only beat me that time because of the others." As Kushina would smirk, "Yeah, right. How about I prove you wrong when I kick your ass again?" As Kakashi would start to get excited up. "You got this, Kushina," as he'd put his kunai back and step back. As Kushina and Zabuza would go into a Kenjutsu battle. Zabuza and Kushina seem to be balanced as Kushina has been taking some time off from her training and she has lacked a bit. As suddenly Kakashi would notice that the water would start to form as Kakashi would jump in, pushing Kushina out of the way as he'd be trapped in a water prison. Zabuza noticing this would go, "Damn," as suddenly he would dodge an attack from Kushina, breaking the water prison. Jumping away, he'd suddenly hear lightning as Naruto would be in the sky as he'd say, "Lightning style, lightning arc," as the lightning arc would come from Naruto's hand to the water. Zabuza realizing this, would really jump in the air, which then he would see or hear 2 weird spinning orbs. Turning both ways, he would see Menma Mito with a Rasengan coming from both angles, about to his stomach and his back. Zabuza would notice this as suddenly he gets slammed from both, crushing him, not killing him though, injuring him badly as he would fall on top of the water, but before he could do anything, sand bombs would come out of nowhere, piercing him in the neck, stopping him from doing anything. Kushina would check if he's alive, and it turns out he would be dead, as Hunter Nid would come out of nowhere, explaining that she needed information from him. Picking up Zabuza, he would disappear as Kushina would glare or stare at Kakashi as Kakashi would nod. Walking to Tasuna's house, they would arrive as Kushina and Kakashi would explain to them that Zabuza is still alive and that they need to get training again, especially Kushina, as she would normally defeat Zabuza in a sword battle, but it seems that her lacking off actually caused that. Kakashi would be training Sasuke personally, while Kushina would be training Menma Mito and Naruto, as Naruto would be training in Kenjutsu. Menma Mito already realized that Naruto is a better Kenjutsu user than they are because they have been focusing on ninjutsu only, while Naruto didn't have that much chakra, so he'd been focusing on Kenjutsu. They also noticed that Naruto's chakra levels are starting to rise again, and in fact is actually getting a bit higher than theirs. Wondering how this could be, because they still see the chain wrapped around Naruto's wrist, which they still considered a curse because Kushina and Minato haven't told Menma and Mito yet. As Naruto would say that he wants to do some private training, as Kushina would agree, as Naruto would walk off while Kushina would still be training Menma and Mito. Naruto would be in a secluded area as he would start practicing with his with Kyuubi's chakra. The Kyuubi would be wrapped in less chains. I said just one chain around his neck as he'd be resting, as Naruto would glare at Kurama, as Kurama would raise an eyebrow. Why are you glaring at me? As Naruto would say, teach me some ninjutsu. As Kurama would sigh, how many times have you asked that, Naruto? As Naruto would yell at him, I've been asking for years! As Kurama would smirk, fine, I'll teach you a jutsu. As Naruto would be extremely excited, as Kurama would sit up, as he'd bring up his hand-like paw, as suddenly a black ring would start to form in it. What is that? As Kurama would point at it, this is a Rasen ring. As Naruto would get a switch up, you just steal the Rasengan? As Kurama would yell back at Naruto, I didn't steal the Rasengan, I just made it better. As this Rasen ring is much stronger than a Rasengan. As Naruto would raise an eyebrow, as Kurama would explain, well, it's just an explosion. As Naruto would get even more sweat drops. Huh? As Kurama would explain, well, it's condensed chakra. And condensed chakra is very dangerous. And if you condense it too much, it's going to boom. As Naruto realized this, so you have a nuke in your hand. As Kurama would nod, yes, I do have a bomb in my hand. As Naruto would sigh, okay, teach me it. As Kurama would start teaching Naruto how to make a Rasen ring, and Naruto would soon eventually learn how to add a Rasen ring to his Rasengan, which would make a devastating explosion, which he's just gonna call a Rasen bomb at that point. As Kurama would be surprised that Naruto was able to learn this quite quickly, as Naruto would say, is there a way I can add chakra to the Rasengan? As Kurama would raise an eyebrow. The Rasengan is made out of chakra, you idiot. As Naruto would immediately yell back at Kurama, no, I mean like nature energy, fire, wind, lightning. As Kurama would think, well, combining it might work. It might take a lot of chakra control though. But due to your curse, or your Kekkei Genkai, you're actually able to manipulate chakra around you pretty easily. As Naruto would realize that as well. The chains are able to stop chakra and deflect it away. So if Naruto learns how to use the chains to direct the chakra in the way he wants it, he's pretty much able to do any jutsu he wants. That is why he's able to do he's basically able to do all the elemental jutsus because of his chakra chains able to manipulate the chakra into whatever he wants it to be. So it's pretty OP if you think about it. But that'll be the end of part. Actually, no, I'm gonna go a bit longer. As we go to Naruto would pass out after learning all these new abilities. Basically just a fire Rasengan, lightning Rasengan, which is the vanishing Rasengan, earth Rasengan, which it's like a drill. The earth would make it like a drill like thing. Wind, which is not the Rasen Shuriken yet, it's just like a ring. Yeah, just a ring around the Rasengan, which just cuts more. Water, which is like the water prison, but it keeps it like that and it's rotating constantly, so you'll drown and you're still spinning, so it's a bit hard to move. But yeah, he'll pass out from learning all these abilities, new jutsus in his mindscape, as Haku would come out and eventually Naruto would wake up. Haku and Naruto would talk about their precious people, and Naruto would explain to Haku that he actually has some precious people. Not as much as his siblings, because obviously they're liked more, but he's glad that Minato and Kushina still care for him, even though he is the dead last. Haku would be happy with this as they had to leave, as Naruto noticed something off about Haku but would think nothing of it. Eventually, they would get ready to battle, and after Tazuna's grandson outrage about how they'll die, I'd say none of them actually get that mad. But Kushina would be a bit mad as well, because the Uzumaki clan did crash. The Uzumaki clan is gone, and she has to start a new one at Konoha, so she would be mad at Tazuna's grandson. But anyways, Naruto would defeat the bandits that go to the house, as he would arrive to see Haku, or the missing nin that he doesn't know, fighting Sasuke, Menma, and Mito, as it seems that the ice person actually made a shot clone, as now there's two jumping from window to mirror, as he look over to see Kakashi and Kushina fighting Zabuza. As he was about to run in to help one of them, he suddenly hears something behind him. Turning around, he'd duck under an attack, as he'd look to see who it was, to see a samurai of some sorts. As Naruto would look at the armor, Kushina would look in the direction to be surprised. Kushina would yell at Naruto that's impossible, as Naruto would be confused as well, as the sword would come flying down, as Naruto would bring out his own, as it would block, clashing together, as the person and Naruto would stare at each other. Kushina would yell at Naruto that's actually from the samurai clan, and that they're supposed to be extinct. Naruto would be confused, as he thought the samurai clan was extinct as well, as then it would continue on. Naruto, not being as good as the samurai clan in Kenjutsu, would start to go to ninjutsu because the samurai clan is not really that good in ninjutsu. They mostly focus on swords, but unlike the or shinobi, their ninjutsu is requiring of the sword. Naruto jump after a fire slash, which would make Naruto confused as he'd jump away. Damn, how the hell is he doing this? Naruto continue on as suddenly he would think of an idea. The swordsman would jump in, trying to stab Naruto as Naruto would move to his side as he would touch the swordsman's arm, which would be confusing samurai. The samurai would jump back and look at Naruto as Naruto would go through hand signs. The samurai would run towards Naruto to end him as Naruto would end with the horse hand sign. Stop. As suddenly the swordsman or the samurai would be stopped in his track as chains would be bursting from the ground, wrapping around his arm and everywhere else. Menma and Mito would be confused at seeing this as they didn't think Naruto had the Uzumaki chains. Kushina finally seeing the chains for the first time as Naruto would smile. Absorb. As suddenly the samurai would start to lose grip as he would drop his sword, losing all the energy in his body as Naruto would start to absorb it. Okay. Ceiling. As suddenly the chains would start to produce black ceilings all around the samurai as Kushina realized that this is pretty OP. Naruto is basically able to do everything he wants with the chains. Absorb chakra, apply ceiling, permanently stop him, just like the Nara. As she would think of other things, as Naruto would say, "Okay, samurai, it seems that you're still alive," which is surprising. As the samurai would glare at Naruto, as Naruto would say, "Hey, don't give me those eyes, man. I could end you at any moment." As the samurai would scoff, as Naruto would say, "Fine. I don't need any information anyway. You're probably the last of your clan." As the samurai would stare at Naruto, as Naruto would go through hand signs again. Lightning style. Spears. As suddenly, the samurai would be covered in lightning spears, which surprised everyone else again, as the chains just produced it. Kushina would realize that Naruto is probably one of the strongest ones in this group, maybe even stronger than Kakashi and Kushina, because if he even thinks about touching Kushina or Kakashi, they'll be permanently trapped in the chains and won't be able to do anything. The samurai would fall dead as Naruto would run in to help Haku, but Haku would be defeated by Menma and Mito, as then they would Haku would reveal to be Haku, as Naruto would tell Menma, Mito, and Sasuke to stop, as Naruto and Haku would have a small conversation. Suddenly they would hear lightning as they would see Kushina from the back of Kakashi, or from the back of Zabuza, about to pierce him, as Kakashi was about to pierce the Chidori. Haku would appear, pushing Zabuza out of the way as Haku would get pierced by the sword and the lightning blade. Zabuza would act all tough and not caring as Naruto would talk no jutsu him, which would make Zabuza fight Gato when he arrived, killing him at the battle. Gato wouldn't be killed as Naruto dragged Gato back. Kushina would tell the villagers to do whatever they want to him as they would leave. Eventually the bridge would be called the Great Naruto Bridge, would make Menma and Mito a bit mad, but they'll think nothing of it. As they arrive back at the village, Kushina would be glad that she got to see the power of Naruto, as she would say, "You guys are going to join the Chunin exams." They'd all be confused as Menma and Mito would mostly know, as Naruto would say, "The Chunin exams?" As Kakashi would explain, the Chunin exams is exactly how it sounds, an exam to become a Chunin. As Naruto would say, "Okay, I want to join." As Kushina would smile, giving him papers, they would sign it. As Kushina would pick it up and leave. As Kakashi would say, "Thank God that she's taking it. It's probably gonna be late." As he would disappear, Naruto, Menma, or Team 7 basically, would be walking towards the village. As suddenly they would notice some other people with headbands, confused as they would not know what it is. But that would be the end of part 3, I think. I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next part. Hey guys, welcome back to another part 4 of What If Naruto's Cursed. I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get started with today's video. We go to Naruto or the rest of Team 7 walking to this group of sand ninjas they just saw. As they would arrive close by, the sand ninja would look at him confused. Naruto would ask what they're doing here, as Menma would sigh as he would punch Naruto in the shoulder, which would make Naruto look at him. "What?" As Menma would say, "Didn't Sensei and Mother tell us that there's the Chunin exams?" As Naruto would realize this, as he would feel really dumb. Menma and Mito would would sigh as they would say, "Stupid brother," as they would walk away. As Naruto would have fake anime tears as he would pretend to wipe them off. Anyways, how's the sand doing? As Tamari would speak up for Gaara and Kankura, she'd say it's normal. The sand, hot, and just sand everywhere. As Naruto would chuckle at that, as Kankura would say, Yeah, it's just normal. Anyways, you be joining the Chunin exams, as Naruto and the rest of Team 7, who at this point is just Sasuke, so Naruto and just Sasuke would agree or nod their heads, as Kanko would say, interesting, maybe we might have someone to actually fight, as they would start to walk away. Naruto was about to walk away with Sasuke as well, until Gaara would stop, which would surprise Kankuro and Temari as he would turn around. You, what is your name? As Naruto would turn around looking at Gaara, as he'd say, Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki, or Uzumaki Namikaze, either one, as Gaara would nod. I'm Gaara. As Naruto would say, okay, we didn't get your siblings' names either. As Kankuro and Temari would introduce themselves, Sasuke would also introduce themselves, as Gaara would nod. I look forward to seeing you in the Chunin exams, Naruto, Sasuke, as he would walk away. Naruto and Sasuke started walking away as well, till Naruto's ears flinched as he heard what Gaara said under his breath. I can't wait to have your blood. Naruto would think nothing of it, as they would arrive at a road path, which Sasuke would walk the opposite, while Naruto walked the opposite. Naruto would arrive home, as Minato and Kushina would smile at him. Menma and Mito already eating, as Naruto would smile back, sitting down and eating as well. For the rest of the week, Naruto would be training with Menma and Mito, which would surprise Menma and Mito, because normally Naruto trains by himself with Kushina or Minato, but this time they're actually training as a family. Even Minato is here. He called in Jiraiya to take his place for today, even though Jiraiya did throw a fit, but Minato bribed him with some money. As the training would go on, Naruto would be on the second stage of the Flying Raijin, which is able to teleport or able to seal on items. Not just to teleport yet, but he's learning how to seal or put the seal on items. Menma and Mito will be a stage ahead of him, so they're able to teleport not long distances, but pretty short distances. Also, they get really dizzy when they teleport as well, so they're trying to learn how to not do that. Naruto's Kenjutsu would be go higher, which would be low joning at this time, as Naruto would be happy that his sword skills are rising as well. Finally, the day would happen with the Chunin exams, as they're all walking there. Naruto, Menma, Mito, and Sasuke would enter the academy as they'd walk up the two stairs, which then they would arrive at the second floor. Everyone else would be waiting there, which would confuse Naruto and the rest of Team 7. As they look at the sign to see it's 3, Menma would continue walking on as Naruto was about to explain that it was a genjutsu, but realized that it was probably a dumb idea, as Naruto had fallen behind his younger brother. Arriving on the third floor, they were about to walk into the actual testing zone until they were stopped by a green jumpsuit person with a bold cut. The person would yell at them both, as Naruto would be confused as he tried listening in more. He says his name was Lee and that he was challenging Menma and Mito. Menma because Menma is the prodigy of the Hokage or the Namikaze, and Mito because he wants to go on a date with her. Naruto would sigh at this as he was about to walk away until Mito would actually get angry at Lee for asking her out, so she would actually accept the challenge, which would make Naruto interested. He hasn't seen his sister fight a lot, so this would be quite an experience as he'd stop and turn around. The rest of Team 7 would watch as Mito would get into a stance while Broccoli would also get in a stance as well. Everyone would start to gather around to watch this battle, as Mito would be blocking most of Lee's hits, as everyone would be surprised at Lee's speed, but Mito wouldn't even flinch, as Lee would think that there was an opening, going in for a kick, as suddenly a chain would come up, blocking it, as it would wrap around Lee's leg, which would surprise him, as it would fling him, throwing into a wall, crashing it down, as everyone would be surprised. Lee was about to open the gates until a tortoise came out of nowhere, stopping him with another duplicate of Lee, which seemed to be older. Mike Guy would tell Lee not to do that, as he would apologize to Team 7 as they would shrug it off and enter the testing zone. They'd see Kakashi and Kushina there as they'd wave, Kakashi and Kushina giving him a little bit of hope, saying that they can pass, as then they would leave as well. Naruto and the rest of Team 7 would be talking with the other rookies till some mysterious person walked up. Naruto, using his Kurama using his Kurama abilities at this point, would be able to sense something off about him and see that he's lying that he failed the Chunin exam 7 times, which would be confusing as well because his chakra levels are much higher than Kiba's and Ino's. Naruto would continue listening on until it brought up the cards. Naruto would be confused at this, as then Menma would ask some questions with the cards, and Sasuke would ask more questions as well. Kabuto would go through all these questions and give information out until Menma would look at Naruto's. Naruto would just shrug, as Menma would say, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. As Kabuto would nod as he would rub the card, and suddenly information would start to appear. Showing a picture of Naruto, Kabuto would start to list it off, saying all the D-rank missions and mostly all the missions he has done, and that he is cursed. Naruto would be confused as the curse thing has been changed to Kekkei Genkai. Naruto would think that it's a bit off, as Kabuto did say that he was here 7 times, and he has information that was supposed to be not found yet, and it goes to Naruto where his information was outdated. Naruto would start to suspect some things, as Kurama would say that he smells snakes off of him. Naruto would also agree, but before he can question anymore, the proctor would appear, Ibiki, I think that's his name, as he would start passing out the papers and everyone would start to sit down. The first test would be pretty boring, so I'm not going to cover it. Just know that Naruto learned how to copy. Yeah. Suddenly, right when the first test was finished, something broke through the window, as it turned out to be Anko. Anko would tell all of them to meet at the Forest of Death, as everyone would follow her. Arriving at the Forest of Death, Anko would give out papers to everyone, saying that if they died in the Forest of Death, it won't be the Konoha's fault for their death. This would make people scared, but Naruto was still thinking about Kabuto, how strange she was. Anko would see this as she would throw a kunai towards Naruto, as Naruto would look up, as suddenly a chain would wrap around the kunai, blocking it before it hit him. Suddenly, Anko would appear behind him as she would grab the chain, bringing the kunai closer to Naruto's throat, as Naruto would say, "Interesting." As Anko would say, "So, you're one of the Hokage's brats," as Naruto would nod. "Yeah, I guess you can tell by the chains," as Anko would agree. Before she could do anything, someone would tap her on the shoulder, as she would turn around to see this weird Graston, as he would tell her that throwing sharp weapons at students is not that good. Anko would just shrug it off, as she would go back to the stand, as she would explain the test. The rest of the team said would go in, as it all decided that the scroll would be handed to Menma. As they dash in, Naruto would be in the back and Sasuke would be in the middle, while Mito and Menma would be in the front. Jumping through trees, Naruto would start to sense around, as then he would stop. Menma would turn around looking at Naruto and say, "What's wrong?" As Naruto would say, "I have to go to the bathroom." Menma and Mito would sigh, as Sasuke would just lean on a tree, as Naruto would say, "I'll be back," as he jumped off the tree to go find a spot. Menma and Mito would just still stay there until they suddenly sense something. Because they're prodigies of the Namikaze, their sensing abilities is as good as Naruto's. As they turn in direction, they'll look at the leaves to see it's blowing in one direction. Menma and Mito stare at each other as they would nod, as they would jump up, Sasuke being confused, as then he would see the leaves as well, as he'd jump up, dodging the giant snake flying by. Crashing through the branch they're standing on, they would land on another branch, staring at what happened, as they would see the Graston that was talking to Anko when Naruto had a conversation with her, standing there as well. The Graston's tongue would be all over the place, as Sasuke would say, "That's gross," as Menma and Mito would pull out their swords. The Graston would smile, as it seems that Menma and Mito already realized that this is not an ordinary genin. They look at Sasuke, as Sasuke would nod, activating his 3 Tomoe Sharingan, as he would stare at them, as then they would jump at each other, fighting. Naruto would finish his business until he felt the wind blow against his hair, which would be confused as he would look in the direction, seeing the giant snake with its giant mouth open, ready to swallow him, as Naruto would say, "Whoa," as then he would jump out of the way. The snake would fly by, as Naruto would make the chain wrap around the snake's neck when it flew by, as he would tighten it, fully decapitating it, as Naruto would be confused. He thought he'd see blood, but it was only a poof, as Naruto would think that was a summoning, and the only person that can summon snakes was Jiraiya's teammate, Orochimaru. Naruto would run in that direction immediately, as he would arrive to see Menma and Mito kinda injured, while Sasuke would be kneeling with his neck covered. As Naruto would wonder what happened, Orochimaru would look in the direction to see Naruto, as he would smile. "Ah, the cursed one." Naruto would grit his teeth as he say, "What did you do with Sasuke?" As Orochimaru would smile, "Well, I just gave him a gift." As Naruto disappeared, surprising Menma, Mito, and Orochimaru at the speed Naruto disappeared at, as he'd appear right behind Orochimaru. Orochimaru would bring up a sword to block it, as Naruto's sword would clash with it. Orochimaru smiles, he would see the chain marks, or the chain would start to wrap around Naruto's sword as it would start to go onto his. He immediately jumped away, not wanting to lose his sword, or Kusanagi, as he would look back to see Naruto smiling. Orochimaru would wonder what happened, as suddenly he wouldn't be able to move. His arm is fully numb. Looking at it, he would see black chain marks, or black tattoos, and say, "What? This is the curse mark. How did he learn it?" As Naruto would be wondering what Orochimaru was talking about, as he dashed towards Orochimaru. Orochimaru, seeing this opportunity, would cut off his arm so the chain tattoos won't reach his body. As Naruto had pierced the arm, as Orochimaru say, "Got you." As Naruto looked at the arm to see as it would turn into a bunch of snakes wrapping around Naruto. Orochimaru would grow a new arm as he would stare at Orochimaru, or he stare at Naruto. Interesting. I didn't know you learned that. As Naruto would say, "I don't know what this curse mark thingy you're talking about is, but I don't know what that is." As Orochimaru would say, "Maybe you might be useful." As his neck was about to extend to bite Naruto, two Menmo would come out and they were cutting off Orochimaru's head when it was extended. Orochimaru would regrow as he jumped away. Damn, the Anbu are coming. Well, it seems that my fun is over. I'll be seeing you later. As he disappeared, Naruto would break out the snakes as he thanked Menma and Mito. As Menma would sigh, "You owe me one, Naruto." As they would they'd pick up Sasuke and start running off. They eventually arrive at the tower as they throw in their scrolls, which would open up to reveal Kushina and Kakashi. Kakashi, seeing Sasuke's state, would be confused as Menma would explain to him what happened. Kakashi would nod as he'd pick up Sasuke and leave off, as Naruto would just be standing there as Kushina would be congratulating her children. Naruto would thank them as Menma and Mito would also thank their mother as they would walk in. A week would pass and Naruto would be second place to the Sand Shinobi, as Naruto would be surprised at the speed they got here, but it does make sense that the god dude was a Sand, or was a Jinchuriki, or is a Jinchuriki at this time. Eventually you go to the preliminaries as Naruto would look around, seeing who he can fight that actually be interesting. That Lee fellow that fought Menma or fought Mito, who might be interesting to fight. Eventually the teams would get picked out, or this 1v1s will get picked out, and everything would be the same. Naruto would easily defeat Kiba, and the same thing would happen. Mito would have to fight Sakura, Menma fight Sakura or Ino, and obviously they won. Yeah, Sasuke did arrive back on time, and he did do his mission, or his 1v1. Minato would explain to them that they have a month to train to see if they can learn anything better for the finals, as everyone would agree. Eventually everyone would leave as Minato would be there, as his sibling or his children will also be there, Naruto, Menma, Mito. Minato would smile as he'd say, "Here you go," as he would hand them 3 scrolls, as each one of them would grab it. Minato would explain what the scrolls are. Menma, Mito, you'll be learning the 4th stage of the Flying Raijin with Jiraiya, and Naruto, you'll be learning the 3rd stage of the Flying Raijin and another jutsu. Naruto would agree or nod as they'd all leave. Naruto, while walking out, would get information about with the Kyuubi, saying that he will also start training him in how to use his chakra fully. Naruto would be confused at this as Kurama would say, "You don't know about this yet, but the Uchiha clan have this special ability to use chakra to make a dome of sorts, a perfect defense, and I'll be training you on how to dent in your chakra to be that." Naruto would be happy to know this, as now he's only been offense, but he's finally going to get some defense in there. As Naruto would arrive outside the I guess academy at this point, I don't know, the academy, Naruto would dash off immediately, ready for his training with KCM. We go to a month past. Menma and Mito have been getting training from Jiraiya. Naruto's learned new abilities with his Rasengan, and he's finally perfected the Rasen Ring, which he won't be using unless it's necessary, and the Rasen Bomb. He also made this atom almost, so basically it's just a Rasengan with wind spiraling all around it like an atom at that point. Naruto would just call it Rasen, he'd just call it Atom at this point. Naruto would walk in as he would see everyone cheering for everybody in the arena, as Naruto would be waving back as they would wave, so some people would cheer for him as well, because Naruto's not or they don't know Naruto's the demon. They don't have a clue that Naruto has Kurama. As Naruto would stand to his siblings, as his siblings would look at Naruto, as Naruto would smile at them. Mito would smile back as men would look away, as Naruto would be happy that Mito is starting to become a sister-like person again, as normally they just don't even smile back at him. It seems that Mito seemed to think that Naruto has gotten stronger and that he deserves her respect again. Eventually, the Hokage would arrive, as he would explain the final Chunin exams as saying that it's actually a small war to see which village is strongest, and also a way to not actually have a war. Orochimaru, or the Sand Kage, would be smiling as he would say, "Oh, this is about to be a war when you're done." As Minato would disappear, appearing in the Hokage's booth, sitting next to the Sand Kage, as everyone would get dismissed and the battles would commence. Sasuke would arrive on time as he got training from the Uchiha clan, as his fire jutsus are much better now. As Naruto, sorry. As Naruto watched the battle with Sasuke as it would end, or not, he didn't fight Gaara. Sasuke is not fighting Gaara. He's fighting Neji. Yeah, that's the only change that happened. Actually, no, he's fighting Hinata. Now you're probably wondering, what? How did Sasuke fight Hinata? Should he even make it into the finals? Well, here's the beginning of the ship, because I haven't even been talking about it whatsoever. She's on the picture, but I never brought her up. Anyways, this is what happened. Flashback. During the preliminaries, Naruto would be watching Hinata and Neji's fight, as Neji would tell Hinata to give up, as Naruto would be telling Hinata not to give up, as Hinata would smile as she finally decided this is the day that he will learn the truth. Hinata would stand up fully as she would get into the stance again, as she would explain that she knows someone that was once the dead last of the class and was not as liked in the clan. In fact, he was weaker than his siblings. As Naruto would widen his eyes as he would realize that Hinata was talking about him, as Hinata would continue on. "I've seen him train and he's never cried, so I will never cry, and I'll defeat you." In this, Hinata would actually defeat Neji, barely, I remind you, barely. And after that, Naruto and Hinata had been talking, as Naruto would start to understand the feelings Hinata has given to him, and in fact he even trained Hinata for a bit, so she is much stronger now. Sasuke would obviously defeat Hinata in the finals, but it was a decently close match. Not really close match, but it was decent. Finally, Naruto would get called up as everybody's battles already happened, as Naruto would be standing there as Gaara would stare back at him. "Well, Gaara, it seems that we're actually fighting each other," as Gaara would smile. "Yes, it does seem that way." Naruto would get into his stance as he'd pull out his katana, as Gaara would smile. "That katana is useless. If you can't even get a hit, you don't even need it," as Naruto would smile. Well, that's the thing. As he'd disappear, Gaara would be surprised as the sand would actually block the slash that Naruto was getting, as Naruto would continue to disappear and appear, slashing it, as Gaara would be interested. Naruto would be observing how the sand worked, as Minato would be watching intensely. After this battle, Menma and Mito are supposed to fight, so it would be quite interesting, as Naruto would continue to increase the speed, as Gaara's sand would start to move faster, but Naruto's sword would start to swing faster and faster as well. Gaara would think this is useless, as he finally closed the dome, making a full dome, as spikes would burst out of every side, as Naruto would jump back, missing him by a hair, as he would look at his jacket to see there's one pierce mark, as he would open it to see if it pierced his skin, and it didn't, as Naruto would sigh as he would look up to see Gaara, as the dome would start to go back. Naruto would go through hand signs as he would stab his sword in the ground. Finishing the hand signs, he would slam his palm on the hilt of the sword, as suddenly the sword would be engulfed in fire, as he would grab it from the ground, as he would dash towards Gaara again. Kakashi Sasuke would be watching this, would be surprised, as he'd think that's like the Chidori, as it's almost exactly like the Chidori, except it's just pointed into his sword and it's fire instead of lightning. Naruto would think that if he's able to heat up the sand to a point where it turns into glass, Gaara won't be able to get any more sand. Gaara's tentacles of sand would start to hit Naruto, as Naruto would be blocking it. Every time the sand would make contact with the katana, it would turn into glass, as Naruto would shatter it. Everyone would be surprised at the strategy, as Gaara's sand would start to lessen and lessen. As Gaara would realize this, he would start to go through hand signs as he would slam his ground. valley of sand. As suddenly Naruto would be confused as the storm or the sky would start to darken, not just gray like a storm, but actually brown, as it started to rain sand, as everyone would be covering their hair and everything else because they don't want sand in their body. As sand would start to fill the arena, Naruto would be confused as then he would see a giant sand golem start dashing towards him. As Naruto would go through hand signs, as he would add lightning to his sword, making it a fire lightning sword, as he dashed through the sand, as he's using the sand as a current to use the lightning to spread faster. Naruto would realize that there's too much sand as he'd go through hand signs, throwing the katana at Gaara. Gaara would think it's a dumb idea to throw your weapon, as the sand would grab the katana out of midair. But right when it did that, Naruto finished his jutsu as he'd say, "Water style, water dragon." Two water dragons would appear out of nowhere, which surprised everyone, realizing that his water skill or his water techniques are quite good, almost like the second Hokage, who is able to produce water out of thin air. As Naruto would shoot the fire dragons, which would soak in the sand, making it unusable. Gaara would realize this as Naruto would go through hand signs, as he would make a Rasengan, as he would dash towards Gaara. Suddenly, green rings start to form around it, as Minato would stand up looking at this. "Naruto, it seems you've actually perfected it." Everyone would be confused at this, as Naruto's Rasengan would turn into the atom, Naruto called it. Basically, green rings, or green wind rings, would be surrounding it from all angles, making it look like an atom. As Naruto would throw it, as Gaara would be confused at this, as he used the sand, as suddenly the rings would start to expand, which would destroy the sand, hitting Gaara, completely sending him flying. Crashing through the ground, sand would be pushed everywhere as he'd slam into the wall. Gaara would get up as he would look at his chest to see a wound from the Rasen or the atom, which is not that strong as Naruto didn't make it to kill. Gaara would see a drip of blood as he would start to freak out. Everyone would start to be a bit scared as suddenly feathers would start to fall. Everyone would go to sleep as Minato would realize what's happening as he would turn around to see Orochimaru appear. The battle would commence and the invasion would start. Naruto would follow Gaara, who would be running away from the arena, as he knows that if Gaara ever goes, or if Gaara is going to go Shikaku, it's best that he stops him immediately. Naruto would arrive at the scene as he would turn around to see Menma and Mito also arrive with Sasuke. They seem a bit battered up because they have to fight Kankuro and Tamari, and this time they were actually killing or going for the kill, which was hard because Menma and Mito didn't want to kill them yet because they had potential and they realized that Orochimaru was controlling them, so it was hard not to get killed while someone is trying to kill you. As Naruto would smile as Mito would smile as well, as Menma would look away. Naruto would dash towards Gaara as the rest would also follow, and this battle would actually be pretty good. Naruto, being the sibling or the older brother, would be ordering them around and they would listen to Naruto because it's in a dire situation. They realized that their chemistry as a team would actually be quite good, as they're perfectly in sync with each other. Naruto would throw Menma in the air as Menma would use a chain which would go down, Naruto grabbing it as Menma would fling Naruto in the sky. As Naruto in the air, Menma and Mito would be distracting Gaara or on the ground as Naruto would start to go through hand signs. He'd bite his thumb as he would be falling down while the blood would be dripping as Naruto would say, "Summoning Jutsu." As suddenly a giant frog would appear in the sky as Menma and Mito would look up as they'd be in shock, as this remind them of the fight between between Minato and Kurama. As the giant frog would land on top of Shikaku, Mito and Menma would jump onto the frog or run up the frog as they would arrive at the top with Naruto. Gambuto would look at both or the three of them as he would say, "Why have you summoned me?" As Naruto would point at the giant one-tails. Do I even have to explain? As the frog would look at it as he'd say, "Do you really think I can beat him? He's a one-tails. He's a tail beast." As Naruto would say, "It's fine. All you have to do is distract him." As Gambuto would sigh, "Kids these days," as he jumped towards Shikaku. Menma and Mito be running around Shikaku, or running on top of Shikaku, as they'll be dodging sand tentacles and fighting. As Naruto would realize that Gaara is sleeping on top. Realizing this, he would jump off of Gambuto's head. He'd say, "Wait, what?" As Naruto would headbutt Gaara right in the head, which would make him wake up. The sand would start to slow down as Menma and Mito realized this. Jumping off the sand would land on a branch as Naruto would watch as Gaara would fall, as he would grab Gaara, landing on a tree. Placing Gaara down, Gaara would be scared as Naruto would talk about his siblings, the Taku no Jutsu, and it would be finished. The three of them would be walking back, and Menma's respect towards Naruto has grown, and Menma would start to treat Naruto better now. They would arrive at Konoha as they realize that the sound shinobis have died and the sand shinobis have surrendered. They look at Minato, who would be a bit injured with one missing or one bloody arm, as he would say he's fine and he managed to defeat Orochimaru thanks to Jiraiya and Tsunade. Let's just be honest here, Minato can absolutely destroy Orochimaru if I'm gonna be honest, but it's just for the plot. Jiraiya and Tsunade helped him. Yeah. As Naruto would smile at this and the evasion would be over. Somewhere else, Sasuke would be getting mind controlled by Orochimaru's lackeys, as Sasuke was helping the civilian out, but Shinobi, aka Orochimaru, who was injured at this point, would put a genjutsu on Naruto or on Sasuke's curse mark, which will be powering the genjutsu. This would make Sasuke want to leave Konoha to follow Orochimaru. But that'll be the end of part 4. I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next part. See ya. Hey guys, welcome to part 5 of What If Naruto Was Coaster. I hope you guys enjoy. Let's get started with today's video. We go to 3 days after the Chunin exams or the invasion, as we go to everyone in the arena once again after the cleanup was happening, as Minato would be standing there. Today will be the day where these Chunins will be graduating, but before that, we shall see the final battle, which would be Naruto versus Menma versus Mito. The three of them will be standing in this triangle formation as they be staring at each other. As Minato would smile, everyone would be cheering at the crowd as they figured out that Naruto was the one who stopped Shukaku, so Naruto would be more loved in this situation. Everyone would be cheering for all three of them as Naruto would smile at the 3. Or at the 2. As the 2 would get ready in a stance, Naruto would also get ready in a stance. As Mito would bring out 2 kunais with the hidden Raijin seal on it. As Menma would stare at it, as Naruto would also look at it. All of them would make eye contact, as suddenly she would throw it as she would go through hand signs saying the Shadow Kunai Jutsu, which would duplicate the kunais, which hits everything. Naruto would smile as suddenly all 3 of them would start disappearing and reappearing, blocking each other's hits, making everyone surprised, as all 3 of them know the Flying Raijin. Naruto a lesser version, but still knows it at the same time. All 3 of them would be clashing while or disappearing away. Only one hits, as it seems that none of them are actually on a team so far. Menma and Mito are not teaming up to beat Naruto, and Naruto's not teaming up with Mito to beat Menma. It seems that it's all in one. As all would be hitting, Naruto would notice that Menma hasn't appeared lately. As he would get ready, as suddenly Menma would appear in the sky with a Rasengan. Naruto would jump away, kicking Mito as she would get hit by Naruto's kick, as she gets sent flying. The Rasengan would slam to the ground, sending kunais flying. Naruto using the kunais that are in the air thanks to the Rasengan to teleport to it, as now he'll be on the side of Menma. Menma would turn his eye to see Naruto there with the Rasengan, as suddenly a chain would come up blocking the Rasengan from hitting him. As the chain would start to crack, Menma realized this would immediately disappear, appearing right under Naruto thanks to kunais. He would grab Naruto's leg, which Naruto was in the air, and slam him downwards. Suddenly the clone that Naruto or the Menma slammed to the ground with poof, which would surprise Menma realizing it was a clone. Mito would get up as she would look around and she would sense Naruto on the ground as she would run towards Menma. Menma, seeing Mito, would get ready as she would use her chains to fight off Menma. Menma and Mito fighting with their chains would forget about Naruto as Mito was trying to get to Naruto, but Menma got in the way. As Naruto realized this, he would start to go through hand signs from on the ground. Menma and Mito would sense a huge amount of chakra building up as they jump away as a giant explosion happened with the blue orb, as Naruto used the giant Rasengan on the ground to expand it. As Menma and Mito would cover their faces and their bodies from the dust and the rock pieces hitting him, Naruto used the dust cloud he's made as his advantage, and he'd run towards Menma. Menma, using his sensory ability, would be able to sense Naruto as he would go into a kunai and sword battle. Naruto using the sword, of course. As they be clashing, Mito would go through hand signs as she would say Fire Style, Fireball Jutsu, as a fireball would be heading towards them, as they'd all look in that direction to see the fireball, as Menma would immediately use the chains to engulf him in a ball, as Naruto would go through hand signs as he'd say Earth Style, Mud Wall, as he'd make a mud wall blocking both him and Menma. As Menma would see this, would immediately grab Naruto with a chain, slamming him through the wall. Naruto would roll on the ground for a bit as he would jump up, dodging the kick from Mito, as Mito's kick would break the ground thanks to Tsunade's training. As Naruto would land a few feet away, Naruto would stare at him as they'd all stare back at Naruto. Well, seems that we're a stalemate. As Menma would smirk. Are we? As suddenly he disappears, Naruto realized that there was a mark on his back as he would get slammed with the Rasengan, skidding him on the ground. As Naruto would land or stop skating as he'd get up, looking back to see Mito about to hit Menma. The battle begins between Menma and Mito as Naruto would think of a plan. I got it. As he'd go through hand signs, a Rasengan would form in his hand. Menma and Mito would notice that as they would focus on their battles because Naruto's not doing anything at the moment. As Naruto would start to move his hand above the Rasengan, adding more chakra and more chakra, as suddenly Menma and Mito's eyes would widen as they would be covered in 5 rings, each ring having its own element: wind, lightning, earth, water, and is that only 4? And I'm gonna say, just I guess, what should I add? And just a nuclear bomb. Just kidding, no. But the 5th one would just be like a semi-tailed beast bomb. Like, it's not a tailed beast bomb. It's not a Rasen ring, because Naruto's not trying to kill him. It's just like it's just all the elements combined, I guess. Yeah. As Naruto would throw it, as this would surprise Menma, as suddenly the ball would go invisible. Menma and Mito, thinking it failed, would continue fighting on as Naruto would smirk. Suddenly, Menma and Mito would defensive chakra appear right in front of him, as Naruto actually used a flying Raijin seal on the Rasengan to teleport it, as it would appear right in between Menma and Mito, as it would explode with all the elements going outwards, which would hit both Menma and Mito. The battle would last on for 5 more minutes until the winner was declared as Naruto. After the multi-elemental Rasengan hit both of them, they were quite injured. As Naruto would win the Chunin exams, which everyone would be cheering about. You're probably wondering what happened to Sasuke. Sasuke lost to Menma, or Naruto, either one. It happened. Anyways, soon after, Naruto, Menma, and Mito were called in to the Hokage's office as they've got their Chunin vest with Shikamaru and did she know else again? Shikamaru was the only one who got the Chunin exam. No, and Sakura. Wait, did she get the Chunin? I think she got. Never. Yeah. So Menma, Mito, Naruto, Shikamaru, Hinata, Sasuke, and What happened to Sakura? Did I put her in a team? No, she failed. Yeah, she failed. Okay, sorry about this along the thought. Yeah, but the person that I just named all became Chunin, and yeah, very well. For the next few days, Naruto would be training with his siblings more often, as suddenly today would be different, as they'd be called in, as Naruto would stare at Minato, as Minato would have a straight face or not a neutral face actually, as Naruto would ask what's wrong. Minato would go through his paper, says, Sasuke has left the village. Naruto would raise an eyebrow as Minato would continue on. It seems that Orochimaru's curse mark has influenced him to the point where he's lost all sense of mind. He's now just a doll. As Naruto would realize this, and you're sending us out? As Minato would agree, or nod his head. As Naruto would nod his head as he'd run off with the rest of the team, which is Shikamaru, Kiba, Hinata, Menma, Mito, and yeah. As they'd be dumping through, they eventually. Oh yeah, and Choji. I can't forget Choji. As they would go into battle, same in canon. As Menma, Mito would be fighting that Skull, the Kaguya clan guy. As Naruto would dash to find Sasuke. Sasuke would break out of the barrel. As Naruto would say, "Sasuke, wake up!" As Sasuke's eyes would be lifeless. As Naruto realized this, as he jumped towards Sasuke and Naruto would go into battle. And Naruto realizing that Sasuke truly has lost everything and he cannot think straight at this point. Naruto would continue on as soon Sasuke would be on the defense. This would lead Sasuke to activate Curse Mark 1 as Naruto would have to try a bit harder but would be able to defeat it. And then it would go to Curse Mark 2, which would be very hard for Naruto to fight as Naruto is not trying to knock out or trying not to kill Sasuke. So he's not using all the big jutsus. But then he realized that it's the only way as Naruto would put a tag on Sasuke, which would surprise him, as he'd appear right in front of Sasuke with the Rasen ring, as he'd point blank slam it into Sasuke's chest, sending him flying, as he'd break right through Madara's statue, as he'd be sent flying even further, as Naruto would think that he used a bit too much, as he would run off to find Sasuke. When he arrived, Sasuke was gone, as Naruto would realize that Orochimaru had stolen him after he was knocked out, as Naruto would be in absolute anger, realizing that if he didn't use that, then he kind of caught Sasuke. But he did, so now he has to go back empty-handed. Arriving back at Konoha, Minato was given the information that Sasuke had successfully left the village thanks to Orochimaru kidnapping him, as Naruto would make it his plan to get back Sasuke. With that plan in mind, Naruto would go into even more training and become even stronger with his chains. As soon as his As soon as his Kagegenkai, the cursed chains, would become so strong that Naruto is able to mold chakra to anything he wants. In fact, he can use the chains to become anything he wants as well. Naruto has also activated KCM2 at this point, and no one of Konoha has realized that Naruto is the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. The Akatsuki are still looking for the Nine Tails, as they haven't found him ever since Toby came back empty-handed, saying that this boy came out of nowhere and stole it. Obito wasn't able to see who stole it, but got away without getting killed. As Naruto realized that the Akatsuki are coming out, and Gaara was the first. As Naruto gets sent out with a team with Sasuke's not there. Menma, Mito, and Sakura. Sakura would be able to heal Kankuro. Naruto would retrieve Gaara just in time, thanks to his speed and the flying Raijin. Naruto would be able to kill Deidara and Sasori. And soon the Akatsuki would be on Naruto's back, as they would suspect Naruto as the Nine Tails with the whisker marks that randomly appeared. Yes, the whisker marks did randomly appear on Naruto. That's what happened. Anyways, the Akatsuki would be on Naruto's back the whole time, and soon Toby would figure out that Naruto has the Nine Tails, which would make Pain go to Konoha. Pain attacking Konoha would be the same, as he did appear in Okage's tower and fly up and destroy the entire Konoha. Naruto would actually be gone with Menma, Mito, and Jiraiya at Mount Mobu. Never mind, I'm not even gonna finish that one. As the battle would be intense between Minato and Pain, obviously there's too many M's. Okay. Obviously, Minato wouldn't be able to defeat Pain, but he was able to defeat most of the puppets, and soon Naruto, Menma, and Mito would arrive with Sage Mode, as they would easily take down Pain. Naruto would find Pain and give him Talk no Jutsu, and soon Toby would declare the Fourth Great Shinobi War, and everyone would go into battle. This is when everyone figured out that Naruto has the Nine Tails, as Naruto would activate KCM2, which would easily defeat most of the enemies that Kabuto spawned. Naruto was also able to save Sasuke on the mission when they were fighting Madara. Madara was fighting with Sasuke, as Sasuke's skills has increased. Orochimaru hasn't been able to take over Sasuke yet, thanks to Naruto's seal. Naruto did help Sasuke with the cursed seal, because they figured out what Orochimaru wanted to do with Sasuke, so Naruto put a seal to prevent Orochimaru, so Sasuke has not been taken over yet. As Naruto defeats Sasuke, bringing him back to normal, as Sasuke would remember all the abilities that Orochimaru has taught him, so he'd be a great asset, as now all the Namikazes and basically everyone's in war right now. And soon Madara would get defeated by Naruto thanks to the suppressant chains. Soon Kaguya would arrive after Naruto defeated Obito and Madara as the Ten Tails with the help of Menma, Mito, Sasuke, and his father, and Jiraiya, and Tsunade, all those. Also all the Shinobi clans, Shinobi villages combined, just like in canon. So Kaguya would arrive, as Naruto's battle between Kaguya and him would be pretty interesting, as Naruto's chains would actually be able to suppress her to a point where she's basically just like Madara in Ten Tails form, so not a fully powered Otsutsuki. And at the end of the day, Naruto would be able to defeat her, and that will be the end of this part. I hope you guys enjoyed this movie as much as I did. More movies will be coming soon, like What If Naruto had the leveling system, which was requested. Also remember to subscribe, suggest more movies if you want, and parts. And like I said, they'll be releasing movies whenever I can, and releasing parts every weekend. I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next thing I do.